You know, we've all been through our own storms. But what happens after the rain stops? Today, we're going to dig into a really tough question. Once you've fought hard for your peace, who actually deserves to be there to enjoy it with you? And this goes way deeper than just forgiveness. It's about protecting your future. Let's get into it.
So right off the bat, let's start with a really challenging idea. When you were going through it, when things were tough, that silence you heard from certain people, that wasn't an accident. It wasn't neutral. It was a choice.
And that's where we're going to start. In our first section, the loudest silence. We're going to break down what that silence, that inaction, really means, especially when it comes from the people you really thought would be in your corner.
Think about this metaphor for a second. Someone sees you drowning, and they consciously decide not to throw you the rope. That's not just passive, that's an active decision. They're weighing your struggle against their own comfort or convenience, and in that moment, their silence says everything.
And this is where we have to draw a really sharp line between two things: ignorance versus avoidance, okay? Ignorance is just not knowing you're struggling. That's a human error, it happens. But avoidance, that's totally different. That's knowing enough to see there's a problem, but making a conscious choice to look the other way. That's a human choice, and it tells you exactly what their priorities are.
And really, this all boils down to one key idea. A person's true character isn't tested when everything's great. It's revealed when you have absolutely nothing to offer them but your struggle. And if they could just stand by and watch you suffer, well, they've just given you the most honest statement they possibly can about where their loyalty ends. So, if hardship is what reveals someone's true colors, what does that actually look like? Well, that brings us to our next section, where we're going to look at the storm not just as a painful experience, but as the ultimate filter for loyalty. I love this way of reframing tough times. It's not just a disaster, it's a filter. The storm doesn't create a person's character, it just strips everything away and shows you what was already there all along. It separates the people who are there for convenience from the ones who are there out of real conviction.
And here's the difference in a nutshell. On one side, you have convenience loyalty. These are the people who are around when there's something in it for them. But the second trouble starts, poof, they're gone. On the other side, you have conviction loyalty. That's the person who shows up when you have nothing to offer, just to stand there and hold the umbrella with you in the rain.
And what's wild is that this kind of loyalty, this conviction, it doesn't always look like some big heroic gesture. A lot of the time, it's the small things. It's that text just checking in. It's them defending you when you're not in the room. Or maybe it's just the simple, powerful act of being physically present and sharing the weight with you.
Okay, so you've made it through. The storm is past, and you have a pretty clear idea of who was really with you. But the story doesn't end there. A whole new challenge pops up, which brings us to our third section, the return of old poison.
And this is where you have to be so careful. The biggest threat to your newfound peace isn't some new enemy you haven't met yet. It's the old poison. Those familiar faces who were nowhere to be found during the fight, but are suddenly showing up to the victory party. They're not back because you've changed. They're back because your circumstances have. And there's usually a pretty predictable pattern to how this happens. First, they just kind of watch you from a safe distance as you start to rise again. Then they reappear, all smiles and warm words. A lot of times, they'll just act like nothing ever happened, like they were on your side the whole time. And then comes the final step. They'll start to test your new boundaries, just to see if they can slip back into that old, comfortable spot. This leads us to something that is so important to understand. Forgiveness and reunion are two completely different things. You can forgive someone for your own peace of mind, to let go of that bitterness. But reunion, welcoming them back into your inner circle, that is a separate choice, and it's a choice you do not owe to anyone. So when you decide not to let someone back in, that's not you being cruel. It's not an act of hate. It's an act of profound self-respect. You are acting as the guardian of the peace that you fought tooth and nail to build for yourself.
All right, so this brings us to our final section, and it's a powerful shift in focus. It's less about who you need to keep out, and more about who you need to intentionally build your future with.
We're talking about your foundation stones. These are those rare people who stood by you when you had nothing to give back. Their loyalty isn't something they talked about, it's something they proved. It's not a promise, it's a fact.
And listen, choosing to invest your time and energy in these relationships, it's more than just gratitude. It's actually a strategic decision.
When you build with people whose character has already been tested and proven, you are literally fortifying your own future. They are the safest investment you can possibly make in your own happiness.
So what does that look like in the real world? Well, you have to be intentional. Give them access to your wins. Make sure they actually benefit from your success. Share your resources, share your opportunities. And of course, when their storm comes, you better believe you're going to be the one holding the umbrella. It all comes down to rewarding proven loyalty with your own loyalty.
And in the end, the message is pretty simple. It's not about the size of your circle. A big crowd of convenient friends can be incredibly fragile, but a small, dedicated crew that's built on proven loyalty, man, that is a foundation that can withstand just about anything. It's all about quality, not quantity.
So, we're going to leave you with this final question to think about. Your future is being built right now, today. So who are you handing the tools to? Is it the spectators, the people who only show up once the building is finished and looking good? Or is it the builders, the ones who are right there with you, laying the foundation, stone by stone?